Rory, you're very welcome to another episode of Kickoff Sessions. I've been following True Vintage since the creation of Fire, if you will. It's been like the number one vintage brand for people like myself, young guys just into going out, into festivals, into everything, man. It's been a good example of like a top tier just vintage brand as well as many other brands. So I'm super excited for today. Nice chill conversation about everything you've done up to this point, man.
Sounds good. Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, looking forward to going into more detail with you and telling you a bit more about how I started the company.
Yeah, man, for sure. So like I met you in London, man, 2018. And I remember at the time, like you were doing pop-up stores, you're still doing pop-up stores. And I remember you saying that this was just always something you've been interested in. You've just like, it's something that caught your eye. You were doing it since an early age. So like really like for you, how has this really been begun? And like how have you brought it from where it was at the very beginning to six-figure company at this stage now, which has a global reach as well?
So I was always into fashion. I worked in fashion from the age of 16, and worked in a few men's clothing shops. But I guess I really got into vintage fashion when I was at uni. So I always wanted to stand out from the crowd and never sort of wear anything that you would see other people in. So I discovered vintage in sort of my first year at uni. I started collecting it, loved mainly sort of the 90s vintage. So sportswear, big logos, just found it really exciting. And I was obsessed with shopping anyway. So built up quite a big collection early on. What happened really to start the business, I guess I was entrepreneurial from sort of a young age. I was that guy that sold sweets in the playground and tried to do my own tie-dye t-shirts and was always looking for a project that I could get my teeth stuck into. So basically I had my own collection of vintage and I would try and sell bits and pieces on eBay if it didn't suit me or it was too small, and quickly saw that I was picking pieces up cheap on eBay and then just remarketing them and making them look a bit more presentable and making some good money on it. So pretty much just one day at uni, I woke up after a night out and was following a few pages on Instagram, and this was literally the first couple of months that that Instagram was built. Saw a few people popping up with their vintage shops, and I just thought, I'm going to set one up and list my whole collection on Instagram and see how it goes. So I just came up with the name, wasn't taken. I listed my whole collection on Instagram and followed a few people, was using hashtags and things like that. And literally within the first 2 or 3 days, I'd sold out my whole collection, straight through Instagram. So I guess it all sort of snowballed from there. I quickly saw there was a good opportunity. There weren't many competitors. It was in the very early stages of online shopping in e-commerce. And I just sort of went all in, spending all my time using all of my student loan to buy stock and pretty much learned as I went. Built the website, set up the domain and all of that sort of stuff in the first couple of weeks. And it sort of took over my life. So that's sort of a brief introduction on how we got going.
How we got going. But what's cool, man, is that like a lot of that is like your own interest. Like you were buying kit that you thought was interesting, you thought you liked, and then you're like, fuck it, I can flip this. So do you think like when you were starting off, were you just buying things that you wanted to, or did you know like your mates would want this? You knew that people that were like similar to yourself would also want it? Because like often, if you may start something or you may be interested in something that people may not also want. Whereas for you, a lot of your kit sold because it was maybe you had a good eye for detail, or were you kind of thinking broader reach? I need to reach more people of a different interest as well.
So I would say probably for literally the first 2 or 3 years, I was literally just buying on my tastes. So just sticking to brands that I liked, certain product types, and I was fortunate that other people sort of liked what I liked, I guess. And yeah, literally those first 2 or 3 years, we stuck to that. And it wasn't until sort of much later on that I started diversifying and buying other product types that I wouldn't necessarily wear, but yeah, testing that out and still saw success. But yeah, early on, just buying what I liked and tried to make sure I didn't keep it all for myself. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
kept a few bits and then yeah, put the rest up for sale.
Man, that's sick. I think a big thing there was like you were one of the early players towards Instagram for like all this branding, because like a lot of those social media platforms have either run dry or the organic reach wasn't there. But a lot of the guys similar to you, if it was fitness, if it was e-commerce, in the early days of YouTube, they get that exponential growth, and I think, True Vintage has started a TikTok, and I know TikTok was at that early stage as well. So it's kind of like that resurgence of, first person on the platform to do it well. Of course, you'd fucking write marketing and whatnot, and you get that crazy growth initially, which is what a lot of kind of brands kind of fail to lack maybe, and they kind of die. They die out, after a couple of months, couple of years.
Yeah, we were very fortunate to be on Instagram early on. I mean, I did set up social pages on Facebook and Twitter for our business, but yeah, Instagram is just the one that's boomed for us, and yeah, we've been very fortunate to build a big following of it's almost at 500,000 followers now. But
Mhm.
yeah, points you touched on there is it's important to jump on these other platforms as soon as possible. I mean, TikTok we're still not putting enough time into, and it's an exciting new channel, but yeah, you definitely don't want to sort of miss the wave on those, and yeah, make sure that you're diversifying how you're reaching customers. So yeah, us personally as a business, we're looking into other channels, but yeah, we're I guess very fortunate timings of when we set up, and Instagram, yeah, it's a huge part of how big our company is today, and
Mhm.
yeah, how big our customer base is.
Of course, man. It's a shop, it's a shop. It's an online shop as it is, as well as your website, and now it really is, because they actually have an integrated buy button on Instagram. So it's pretty, I don't know, it's pretty like transparent. You almost don't need a website. You still obviously do, but some people making just sell straight from Instagram. You touched on a really good point there about like the growth, like when you had that kind of exponential growth. So your business model is really interesting because you hold the stock. So you went and picked out these vintage bits, you held them, and you often see people say now, you shouldn't hold inventory. Airbnb doesn't hold stock. This company doesn't hold stock, so maybe you shouldn't. How did you find yourself like growing with that exponential growth of marketing? Because like you're going up in followers, you're getting more requests, but did you bring in more people and started like distributing that way? Because it's kind of hard to scale if you're housing everything inside, or is it not?
Yeah, we've had a lot of challenges with scaling and holding stock, and yeah, we're just such a unique business model. All of those products being one of one. Yeah, in the early stages, I guess, yeah, when I was running the business from uni, or in from home when we moved to London, I had a few guys helping me, my brother, and a lad called Bruno, who was my housemate at uni that I roped into helping me. We were running the operation as just three of us, and at that point we were putting up stock and almost selling instantly. We didn't have a huge stockpile, so I mean, we used to put up 50 products a day then, and most of them would sell out in the first day. And then slowly, as we've scaled the business, and where we are today, we're putting up 200 unique products a day.
Holy
Um,
shit.
yeah, we slowly start building up quite the inventory, where
Mhm.
sometimes it can get to 10,000 pieces. So yeah, it's just about weighing that up. I mean, we've increased our marketing in terms of what we're doing to reach new customers, both organically and paid channels.
Mhm.
But yeah, there's always that challenge of making sure we haven't got too much cash tied up in stock, and
Mm.
how to get rid of it quicker. I mean, yeah, we are doing a few other things now where we're doing new products, and we're starting to get more a bit into that. That has its benefits in terms of not so sort of hands-on as all the vintage products are, and
Yeah.
picturing everything, listing everything individually. So we're working out better ways to scale at the moment, but yeah, it's definitely had its challenges.
For sure, man, for sure. I think what's really cool as well is like, you said one of a kind. These like Stone Island or Tommy Hilfiger pieces are like literally one off, and like that's what makes them so unique. That's what drives such a high value and whatnot. But how is it finding these products on an ongoing basis? Because like let's compare this to, I don't know, New Look, let's compare this to H&M. They can just print more fucking t-shirts. If they see a t-shirt selling, they'll just print them more and that'll be it. And there's never any issues, They might have a supply chain issue, whatever, but not really. Whereas for you, there's always that kind of pressure, I suppose, to deliver high quality and find these unique bits. So how did you even kind of, know that you're going to build this and find these pieces on an ongoing basis, list 50 a day, list 200 a day, and try to scale there?
Yeah, so early on, it was always a worry of mine. Yeah, in terms of being able to get access to this stock, as most of it is from the 90s. So we're talking about pieces that are 30 years old, and yeah, that was a worry of mine. However, sort of as time has gone on, and I've seen seen it sort of firsthand, different suppliers, recycling plants. It just is sort of beyond belief how much clothing there is out there that's
Yeah.
chucked away or recycled. The amount of warehouses and sort of recycling plants that are around the world that just send tons and tons of stock around to each other each day, and they find the best solution to selling that stock to people like us. I'm almost not worried in the immediate future of us being able to find that stock. It's circular fashion and it keeps coming back around. But yeah, I suppose our challenge is in the future is sticking with new trends. So fortunately for us, our little niche has been the 90s. And that's done really well for us. But going forwards, there's going to be other products our customers want going into the 2000s and stuff that people don't really see. Doesn't seem should be vintage to them because it's only sort of then 15, 20 years old. But the only concern I have got, to be honest, is the quality of clothing. So in my opinion, the people manufacturing clothing back in the 80s and 90s, there was a lot more care taken into quality. Definitely, and man. That's why this clothing is still around now to this day, because it was built so well, and that was important to their customers to give high quality. And anytime I compare vintage pieces to sort of modern remakes, the quality has just gone so downhill, where these companies are just looking at a profit margin and using I guess cutting corners. So that would be my worry in the future, is if this modern clothing that's been made over the last sort of 10 or so years, if that's even gonna last.
Fuck, man, yeah. Because like if you think about it, like as in even what you're wearing now, like that jumper, like is like so well done. It's so like essentially well designed and well made, and it's a really well embroidered. But if you compare that to now, where things are just being made like in seconds and seconds and seconds, made in Middle East and Asia, whatever, and they're just going for like quantity. Like that's kind of a scary kind of daunting thought. But what's good though is the fact that I think over the last 5 years for you, there's been such a big resurgence for, recycling, people taking the right, step forward in terms of like fast fashion, trying to remove that. So it's been it's obviously like helped your business well that way. And I think it was True Vintage that, or else Vintage Trends that had the stat that clothing was the second biggest polluter in the world. I don't know what was first, but yes, clothing was second. So even if that comes around and you can still preserve the 80s and 90s and maybe move with those times as well, it's difficult to think about like how it can actually turn out,
Definitely. Yeah. And I suppose on that note, it's great to see that, the vintage industry and other industries as well are really starting to make a difference with sustainability, and particularly sort of the younger generation, who are our sort of key customers, really are into sustainable fashion and making sure we're not sort of promoting fast fashion, Yeah, and there's, as I said earlier, there's so much clothing that's already been produced on this planet. There's enough to go around for everyone. It's almost like we don't need to make anymore. Obviously, that's always going to happen, and yeah, I think that should happen. But it's important that brands are thinking sustainably. So I guess us as an example, as I mentioned earlier, we do make some new products as well. However, that we sell on True Vintage, but and these are 90s sort of inspired products, but we are thinking sustainably. So we are using materials that are organic materials, recycled materials, and as well we're making stuff which we're proud of and is built to last. So yeah, hopefully that's the sort of thing other brands are going to do, and yeah, we're not going to have this sort of fast fashion where you see people buying t-shirts for £1 and then being thrown away after being worn once. So
100%. Because they don't last as well. Like you buy things online, you'll buy a pack of like 5. Pretty sure one of these is one of them, and like you wear them once, you wash them once, and that's it. And that's the difference. So like it just depends on the target market essentially, and that's what was really cool about what you were doing as well, is because like when it was targeted at the younger generation, you hit those people that wanted high quality, that wanted things that were niche and specific. And I think I always think about like the festival clothing in particular, like, you guys really got it nailed on the head with that, and were able to push it to a market of people that really wanted it for special events. And that's what made it really kind of cool. Big thing there as well that I wanted to ask around was around branding. So growing your brand through these different kind of schemes looked really, really, beneficial for you, especially like, people posting stuff online, tagging you, growing it organically like that. What do you think was the biggest drivers for you to grow that brand, especially over the last year or two, when you've seen that, like fucking 10x growth essentially over the last couple of years?
So, I mean, yeah, sort of from day one, in terms of growing our brand and our presence, we've always tried to stick to, providing the best in branded vintage. So we are always looking out for those standout pieces, and like to think that, all the stock that we put up is of high quality and high demand, which has definitely helped us grow. So yeah, something you touched on earlier, word of mouth. So we, for instance, we'll post on Instagram daily, and it's great to see the amount of times people tag their friends in stock they see that we list, knowing that they'll probably like it. Things like that helps us get a lot of new followers. We regularly do competitions as well. That's good. It feels nice to give back to our customers. Just as simple, sort of entering the competition and tagging friends, free to enter, and someone can win either a unique piece of vintage or some store credit. That's always helped us. And I think just sticking to that from early on, making sure we're producing nice content that people are going to like seeing, has helped us grow our customer base. And of course, there's other marketing channels, such as our app, which has helped us get in front of other customers. We also do some paid advertising. We do things like podcasts and featuring articles. We do pop-up stores as well, which is a great way to find new customers and meet some of our current customers in person. So just around sort of those key things has helped us grow our brand.
100%, man, because it's kind of given more of like a interpersonal kind of level. Like you've actually got to know people and you've met them at pop-up events and whatnot. And I think you touched on a good point there about even about podcasts. I see a lot of brands now, a lot of small kind of clothing companies start podcasts because people can listen to like yourself. So let's say if you had, a True Vintage podcast or monthly or bi-weekly, whatever, people, understand you at a deeper level, then know who you are, know behind the scenes, know, how you distribute products. And that's a huge, inbound kind of reach. People can really like think, okay, this is a successful brand. They see all the people behind it, and it's a good way for them to resonate with you, I think, and stick with people through their entire growth. I think Gymshark was a really good example of that. Gymshark's kind of the main example of they've documented from the beginning, all the behind the scenes, pretty much everything. And as a result, people feel like they're kind of part of that kind of journey.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. And yeah, I mean, that's something which we are looking at the moment. I touched on earlier, we're looking at other channels where we can start interacting with customers. But yeah, we ourselves want to start a podcast and do a sort of YouTube series so that we can build a better relationship with our customers and not just be about selling products, but yeah, show them a bit more about what we do. And I mean, a project we're working on at the moment, we've just moved into a brand new warehouse, but we're building a room called the Archive. So we've got about a good few hundred products of our rarest ever pieces that I've just held on to. We haven't sold. Just because they're so unique, we know it's highly unlikely we're going to see them again. So we've got our room archive we're designing at the moment so that it's going to be somewhere we can show people in the industry and customers, and it's going to be almost like a museum where you walk back in time in a completely 90s inspired room. And within that's where we want to start hosting either sort of video content where we're doing a YouTube channel and doing podcasts as well. So yeah, that's something exciting that we're working on, and hopefully it'll be something which our customers find really exciting as well.
Yeah, man, that's fucking sick. Just pretty much gives them a little bit more. I was podcasting with someone a couple of weeks ago who like specializes in building brands, and she says like the main thing is like to give your loyal customers like 1 inch more. Something else doesn't have to be like a product, but it's just like giving back a small bit. Could be a newsletter, it could be something, but it's just like that 1% more improves the retention tenfold, you know. Last area I want to touch on was around your new business, True Store, which is sick. It's a nice different slant off. You know, you had such a successful brand, you have such a successful brand with True Vintage. What made you kind of make that move completely into a different area? And what's been the biggest kind of challenge you've had making that transition?
So I guess we knew that our customers weren't, well, the vast majority weren't just buying vintage. We knew people were, buying new trainers and other pieces of new clothing, which they're, pairing up with their vintage outfits usually. So, I mean, we've always been interested in new brands as well. As I said, I've worked in other men's clothing shops before uni, and I started my business. So it's something which we're all interested in fashion as a whole, and we wanted to sort of be that place that can do vintage and new products alongside each other and be just that one roof where we can supply all of your fashion needs. And I think what was important that we did with True Store early on is we wanted to make sure it tied into what we were doing at True Vintage, because that was the most important thing and something our customers would hopefully buy into. So what we did was the vast majority of the brands that we're working with, we're making sure they're in line with our sustainability ethos. So again, using brands that use recycled materials, organic cotton and things like that. We're working with some really cool brands. Parlay of the Oceans, where they take plastic bottles out of the ocean and make bags from them. We're working with Clay Footwear, who are making leather shoes, but out of cactus leather. So there's just really cool brands that we're working with. And then the other thing which we wanted to tie into was why else people buy vintage. So from what we saw, the two biggest reasons were around sustainability, which I've already touched on, and the other one is about people standing out from the crowd and wearing stuff that's quite unique. So that's why we're working with quite a few emerging brands on True Store, ones that people might not have heard of yet. We've got quite a few brands out in Japan, and that's sort of the USPs we've tried to stick to. That's going really well, and it's early on at the moment. But something which is in the pipeline is looking at brick and mortar stores. So we're definitely going to do a long-term pop-up And then hopefully that will lead into having a retail store sort of full time. So we in this pop-up we want to have vintage and new clothing alongside each other, and I just know there's no one really doing doing that well at the moment, so hopefully it will give us a sort of really unique experience for our customers, and and can just be sort of that ultimate shop for any of your fashion needs.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be cool because it's like they work like symbiotic. Then True Vintage will complement True Store and vice versa, and they'll go back and forth. And you'll see people that are interested in one, interested in the other. They can cross over. So I think that's going to be pretty cool, man. I want to leave it right here, and I want to say a massive thank you, man. Like I've been following True Vintage since fucking dawn of time now. This stage, I think it's been so cool to see so far, and being at the start of True Store as well. I'm looking forward to seeing like all of this, like play out, see all the new brands come in, and just see how it iterates over the next couple of weeks or next couple of years as well.
Yeah, appreciate that, Darren. Yeah, well, thanks for your time, and thanks for your support from early on.